Hey guys, Nate Tucker here. I'm doing another, should be super quick lesson on Meteor, understanding the weird parts. I just wanted to show you a little something that I had actually written that I think is super good and it sort of fits in the mode of Meteor um, of Meteor with ES 2015 and Meteor 1.4. And so what this is called is it's Meteor Validate Publish. So you can sort of check it out right here. It's Geno Validate Publish. I'll send a link later on after the video. And it does a lot of the things that Validate Method had done. So one, you have an object that represents your publication. That's great. Number two, built-in argument validation. Number three, call your publication test from server-side code. Again, this is pretty awesome. This is not complete. This will only work well for basic publications. I'm thinking about extending it. There's some ways to do so. Four, it throws errors from client-side publish in order to prevent execution of server-side check. This is awesome. Also pretty simple. Five, it takes advantage of common core publication packages like unblock and publish composite. I'll talk a little bit about unblock. But as for publish composite, I'm just sort of going to leave this for a later lesson. So what publish composite basically is it's a tool that will allow you to publish collections that are joined with each other. This done unblock, super simple here. Why unblock? When a method or a publication executes DDP messages for a single client in a sequence. So if one message takes a long time to process, a time will add up on all the messages. You can unblock, and this will allow you to skip this sort of wait. So if you this done unblock before we sleep, we'll not have to wait on this publication. So it's generally just a good thing. That's why I've sort of turned it on for default. So you don't even need to think of it. Okay, so what does it do? Meteor Validated Publish, or Geno Validated Publish. So what this basically does is it provides a nice interface, very similar to a very similar to the validating methods. The publish itself looks very similar as well. You've got a name, you've got mix-ins, you've got a validate, you've got apply options, and you've got run. I want it to look exactly the same, and then I've got sort of two things that you can do. You can register. You'll be able to register on the server, and you'll also be able to get the subscription. Okay, so let's just go ahead and do this. I'll copy in this code, and I will convert one of our normal publishers to this, and I'll show you why it's nicer. So we've got this code in server. What you'll want to do is instead define this in both. That way it can be referenced in both client and server. And that way in the client, you're not going to be referencing a magical string. You're going to be referencing an actual JavaScript object. Much better. So if you go over here, I've just made a new file. I'll go ahead and copy this in. One more thing, I'll go ahead and steal this method. Just as the first one, list public. Booyah. And then sort of add it in here. So first thing we need to do, we need to go ahead and import validate methods. So import validated publish from, and this is just Meteor / GNIL colon validated publish. Okay, that should work. We need to give this a name. So first, I mean, what do you want to call this? List public seems pretty good. So I'll call this list public. The name that I will give it shall be list public colon list public. Just to keep this simple. We're not doing any mix-ins. I talked about mix-ins previously with validated method. They're nice. They're useful. I don't think they're completely necessary. I kept them here in order to just keep schema with the validated method. I think that makes somewhat sense. Let's take them out. No mix-ins. As for the validate, we've got no validation here since this takes no arguments. So we can just put in none. Right? None. Let me make sure. Let me make sure this is in the code. Fortunately, I've got the code right over here. Okay. Sorry, I'm Pythoning. So we just give this null. Apply options, we're not going to use any options in this case. There's only two options. One, you've got the composite publish, which is kind of cool. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. And you've got this done on block. You almost always want to use this done on block. It's great. It makes your code faster, it makes it better. The only time you don't is when you actually have sequential publications, and that will happen very rarely. So if you have sequential publications, go ahead and set these apply options, otherwise just ignore them. And then run. So run, this is the main body of what you're doing. So in run, we'll just copy and paste, return. So we'll go ahead and return our lists. Let's do one quick thing. Steal this import. Let me change it just slightly. Steal this. And then this should be fine. List.public. Last thing, we want to export. Export const. Okay. So this is how you would write it. Pretty simple. You basically copy and paste the main body of your code into the run, and you've got to validate publish. Now you can reference it. The sort of awesome thing about this is you're able to reference it in both client and server-side code, even though this technically only runs on the server. So let's see how you do this. In order to reference it in the server-side code, what you need to do is you need to register it. So we'll go ahead, we will, currently it's list publications right here, not in the server anymore, it's just publication.js. And instead, we actually want to import something from it, which I think is much better. Instead of just importing a file where you don't actually know what's happening in there, you can import something from it. And I think this is called list public. So go ahead, import this, and then we just need to register this. So list public dot register. So what this will do is it will register that publication. It will say, hey server, let it be known that there's a publication that exists with this server or with this publication's name. So that's awesome. It will let you know what's happening. It's good, at least in my opinion. The main reason why this is good is just so you can reference things. It's so when people look at your code later on and they see some random string and they go searching around your code base in order to figure out where it is, they can do it easily because it's referenced right there. This also reminds people when they change that random string to change it in all the places that is referenced. Okay. So list.public.register. Now we've registered it. The final thing that we need to do is we actually need to use it in the client code. So let's see. We can kind of do whatever we want here. Really, all I want to do is you can use this kind of wherever. I'm going to go ahead and import API to do. Let's see. Haha. So I'm going to go ahead and import our lists public from this exact same place, except for type in publications instead. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach list public to the global object. So this dot list public equals list public. Generally speaking, you won't do something like this. You go ahead and subscribe to this wherever you would normally subscribe to it. For example, if you were, let's say, over here in newpage.js, and you were going ahead and subscribing to something with your subscriptions manager, you would go ahead and use this here. I'm just going to show you this since it's a little bit easier just by attaching it to the global object and then sort of playing around with it, just so you can see what's happening on. This is list public. Okay, this is on the global object. We need to go ahead and refresh. Okay, we're ready. Okay. And now we've got this list public. List public, this is the validate method. You can see all the things about it. The two things that you need to remember are get subscriptions and register. You've already used register. That can basically only be used on the server side. So what does get subscription do? It basically returns a list. The first thing is going to be the name, and the second thing is any of the arguments that you are passing in. This is going to only accept a single argument. So in this case, if you want to pass in a lot of quote unquote arguments, you need to bundle them all in a single object. We go ahead and we pass our get subscription into meteor.subscribe. This will take a list and it will actually pass it in as individual arguments. We'll go ahead and subscribe. I'll let you see this. We get a subscription, and then if we just go back to list.find1, boom, we've got some stuff. So this is awesome. What's nice is that I can reference this from both public or from both client and server code. What's nice is they reference the same object, so if you change that object, it changes in both. You don't need to change those strings in two places. The second nice thing about it, you'll see in 1 second. So let's make something new. So maybe you don't believe me. Maybe you think this only works for just sort of simple ones. So this works pretty generally. I would be very sad if you didn't believe me. If we want to go and take our complex publication, so this is the publication of just a number, and we want to steal it and put it over in our new publication in both. We'll take let's just put it up here. We'll go ahead, we will just copy this, put it in. Okay, got a new validated publish. I'm going to call it just a number. We can go ahead and say the name is just a number. No mix-ins. This time we do have a validate. And what is our validate? Our validate is pretty simple. It is check. So we will go ahead and check that this is a number. So I've got to just put this in here. Okay, check that it's a number. No apply options. And then we go ahead and do the run. And again, the really nice thing about the run, which is just copy and paste all the good logic here, sans the validate. And we throw it in a run method. So it's not actually a ton of code for you to change. The code that is important for you guys to change is the code that's bad, that you should have sort of changed anyways. So this is the code that references that sort of dummy string, or this would be the code that doesn't test publications in the first place, or this would be the code that doesn't validate on the client. So it's only adding the good stuff. I'll go ahead. I'll import Meteor here. We'll export just a number, and we'll go ahead and add a trailing comma. And there you go. There you have it. That's how you would translate it. Now you might say like, oh, that's great, Nate. Does it work? Okay. Yes, it does. So again, we go back over to register API. We actually list out what we're trying to register, just a number, and we call its register method. Again, now we know exactly what publications are registered, and we know how to reference them right here, instead of just referencing this sort of ambiguous file. So that's awesome. The final thing that we'll do is, now that we've registered it, we just sort of want to attach it to the global object. Again, this is not something that you should do in truth, but I mean, it's a nice expedient for what I'm trying to do here. I'll go ahead and attach it to the global object, and I'll play with it a little bit. Register API. Go ahead, use it in your client code, and import it all from a both folder. Okay? So, go ahead and reload. Now I'm just using sort of like a page not found sort of thing over here. It doesn't really matter where you want to import this. So, I've got something new. What is this called? Just a number, I think. Just a number. Dot get subscription. Now this get subscription will actually take something else. It will take a string, or not a string. I guess it will take a number. So it will take whatever arguments that you need to pass into the publication. And if you pass in an argument that's actually going to be mismatched, it'll go ahead and throw an error. All right, we'll throw a validation error. Now, why do you want that? Again, this is that reduced latency. If you pass something into a publication that's going to fail on the server, why have it fail on the server? First, fail on the client. The only time you wouldn't want it to fail on the client, or I guess the only time that wouldn't happen, is I guess when you're being hacked. So that's when you want to have this validation both on the server and on the client, which is what I've done in this package. So you're double validating, but you're going to save yourself a ton of time and a ton of latency and a ton of on the wire data if you go ahead and check it on the client first. This is just good design principles. So if we get subscription of an actual number, it's totally fine. It returns that number that is validated as well as the subscription. So just so you guys believe me, Meteor does subscribe. Yes, I've done this before. To just a number, we'll unpack that. We'll go ahead and get the subscription, and then we'll do counts.find.fetch. Okay, starts off with 5. And then in another 10 seconds, we'll get another one. So that's basically it. I'll show you in 1 second that it's true that we do get more stuff. That we do get more stuff in there. But again, you're getting these 6 really cool benefits here. The same benefits that you're getting from validated method. I think if you use validated method, you should just definitely use validated publish. It's just good code. Again, you've got an object that represents. You're getting built-in validation. It's easy to call from tests. It throws errors on the client side. Again, this is going to save you a ton of time, and it takes advantage of these sort of core stuff like Meteor hacks on block. You didn't even know that you used it. So this is just cool stuff. Do you think it's been 10 seconds? Woo, it's been a lot more than 10 seconds. Okay, so that's about it. I hope you guys sort of enjoyed this, and I hope you guys use Gino validate publish. I'll go ahead and include it in the links. I really love the code, and as always, it's always a pleasure, never a chore. See ya.